I-86 After Dark recommends simply the best cleaning services. Call 716-912-6940. Western New York's cleaning and restoration leader. From Buffalo to Long Island, this is I-86 After Dark.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to I-86 After Dark. I am your host, Buffalo Bob, and I am here with my one and only co-host, Mr. Damien Microt, a.k.a. The Great Dame. How are you doing, Chief?
I'm doing all right. It's a little rough here in Buffalo, with the Bills getting eliminated. So we have 6 more months of misery here now.
Yeah, this past week went from an emotional distress to an even more emotional distress, dare I say.
Yeah, it was rough. I mean, it's one thing to go into the playoffs and get blown out, and it's another way to lose the way the Buffalo Bills lose. And it's just heartbreaking almost every year.
Yeah, that's for certain. But you know what? At the end of the day, all things will probably going to work out, which right now, it sounds like it's all doom and gloom, but we're going to get into that in a little bit. And just for the record, guys, there has been a lot of shit that has come out this past week, and we're going to pretty much digest it all tonight. And we're supposed to hear from John Blaine from Around the Ropes in a little while. He's running a little late, but he should be on the show in a little bit. He wants to have his take on the whole football side of the show, so with that being said, as soon as he gets on, we'll let him in. So let's begin with the weekend. So the divisional round has been quite dramatic, if you will.
It has. Unfortunately, all the teams that I wanted to win pretty much didn't. I mean, like last week, I picked the Denver over the Bills, but I really wanted the Bills to win. I wanted the Bears to win. Nope. I wanted the 49ers. No. So I didn't really care. I didn't really care about Patriots Houston, but if I had to choose, it would have been Houston. Nope.
Sometimes you just get shitted on for all the wrong reasons.
No. I mean, going forward, I'm definitely an NFC guy now. Fuck the AFC. I don't want any of those teams. The long-suffering Patriots fans, that haven't been to a Super Bowl in so long,
right?
Are probably going to go back.
And yet, their situation was apparently the worst.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot
just ridiculous.
Stand them. I cannot stand them.
Right now, I'm going to say go Seattle.
Well, there's plenty of fish in the sea for who could possibly go to the Super Bowl this year, but the window is very limited with how many teams are left, but I guess you can only really pick 2 at that moment in time, I guess. But yeah, let's go over the games individually. So we'll start with the big one for last. So we'll start with the NFC. We'll do Seattle and San Francisco first. So I think you and I both said Seattle was going to win this week. Oh no, you said San Francisco and I said Seattle.
No, I said Seattle too, only because Kittle was out going into the game.
That's right.
I mean, I thought San Francisco could make a run to the finals, but after Kittle went out, I was like, I don't think they're going to get past Seattle. And boy, were we both right.
Yeah, I mean, Seattle just absolutely just massacred them at that point. San Francisco was in such bad shape. It was almost in a way hard for them in general to compete with the Hawks. And I remember just sitting there watching the game, and I'm just like, God damn it. It's going to be one of those fucking games, isn't it? It's going to be a blowout. And sure enough, it was a fucking blowout. I hate blowouts because it's like you can't really compare the games compared to from, within that time frame. You know what I mean? Like, it's so hard to, have a conversation about it because it's like, oh, did you see that game? Yeah, I did. It was a blowout. Did you enjoy it? Nah, not really.
Not really. I was kind of in and out on that game. That was the only game that I was just like kind of didn't really care.
Yeah, but you know what? I got so caught up this past weekend within 3 of the last 4 days. Friday was really like my relaxed day, but all of Saturday, Sunday, until the time of the Patriots game, and all of Monday was just baby, for me. It was all just getting ready for Maverick, just getting ready for my son to come in on March 18th and so on. And I had my baby shower, so it was hard for me to concentrate specifically on all the playoff games. Like I have the ideas in my head, but with presents and books and clothes, you know how baby showers work.
I mean, yeah, but mine were back in like the early 2000s.
Rough, but still. But entirely though, the playoff game, Seattle, San Francisco, nothing really special. We knew that this was going to be a blowout, so there's that. As far as like all the accoutrements and all of the injuries the Niners had to go through, it was just not worth watching.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, Seattle looked good early on, but let's see what they do next week when they the Rams.
Yeah, I didn't think it was going to be a blowout by any stretch of the imagination, especially to this degree. I mean, San Francisco's been battling injuries all season long. So losing Kittle the week before, I thought would hinder them, but I didn't think it would be that big of a loss. But yeah, Seattle just steamrolled them. We'll see how they do against a Rams team that's much better.
Oh, yeah, for certain. Speaking of the Rams, I got to tell you, am I the only one on the show tonight that thinks the Rams got really, really lucky with how that game ended on Sunday night?
No, they did. They got extremely lucky, and Stafford didn't play particularly well in that game. He was having an MVP caliber season in the regular season, and I don't know. He kind of laid a dud in that first game.
He did. But I also said that I mainly said the Bears were going to win that game, mainly because of the cold temperatures. It snowed, and it was like 17 degrees. So whoever said that it was going to be below zero clearly was over-exaggerating. But can you really blame me? It was from the Gridiron Instagram page. And, of course, that's Bleacher Report. So in a way, it was hard for me to say exactly if that was true or not. And it turned out it wasn't true at all. But it is what it is. But amidst all of that, though, I actually really enjoyed that Chicago-LA game.
Yeah, I mean that was probably the best game to watch besides the Bills one, but I mean that was stressful. That the Bears game you could watch without being that stressed.
Right. Well, let me ask you this about the Rams game: was Davante Adams' catch a catch, or do you think it was a complete pass? What do you think?
I mean, who the hell knows? We don't know what's going on. We don't know what a catch is anymore.
That's very true. That's very true. And look who finally decided to show up.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. What's going on, Tom? How are you?
Hey, doing all right, guys. Just I just had one thing I ran just a few moments late, but no, I wanted to jump on, even though I wasn't even going to be here this week.
Yeah, we were saying that before, and we kind of figured you were coming on. I didn't even know you were coming on. I'm not gonna lie. I thought that you were taking your sweet ass time, and you were just like, maybe he's probably not going to show up. And then all of a sudden, boom, here comes Tom.
Yeah. Well, part of it is I ended up rearranging a couple things, but then after watching that absolute disaster of a press conference this morning and some of the other things that went on, I'm like, hey, you know what? Hey, jump on.
Well, we're actually discussing the Bears game for a little bit because we didn't even get to the Bills game yet, so we're getting there. But Tom, just to actually ask you this question, I don't know, David, did you answer it yet? Did you think that was a catch in the Bears game?
Sure. But I mean, like you said, nobody knows what a catch is or isn't anymore.
What about you, Tom? Do you think that was a catch at the Bears game against the Rams?
If I look at it with the Bills, I'm like, hey, catch is a catch, but if it's not, then it's not. And basically, I mean, it looks pretty straightforward with the Bears game where It was possession, both hands, ass was on the ground, leg was on the ground, and then of course it gets ripped out. So of course by rule it's supposed to be a catch. But then of course look at the Bills where basically it was the same exact setup, but then they claim, "Oh, you didn't make a football move." Fuck that.
Yeah, really. But
yeah, but you know what the football move is actually catching the fucking football. That's the football move.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, for the most part. I mean, that's how it's supposed to be. If you catch the ball and you're down by contact, that's a catch. Very straightforward. But we're going to get to that. But as far as the Bears game go, I thought Caleb Williams played great until the halfway point of overtime. And that's where I think the Bears lost it. Because Caleb Williams single-handedly threw that pass, and he was trying to go to DJ Moore, and it gets picked off just like that. And the Rams march downfield. Season's over right there.
Don't everybody jump in.
Right?
Well, I'm here now. So,
I mean, it shows his his lack of experience in the playoffs. I mean, he wasn't quite as bad as CJ Stroud.
Oh God.
Or even Drake May in that game. I mean, it was like a turnover battle in that game. It was just ridiculous. I think it was like 5 turnovers to like 3 or 4 on the other side. It's just like, Jesus, who wants to win this game?
Basically nobody. But you know what's really funny about CJ Stroud is that the motherfucker had the audacity to say all kinds of stupid shit after they beat Pittsburgh nearly 2 weeks ago. And then he's flexing. It's like, why y'all hate it? Or whatever it is he said. And he had 3 fucking turnovers at Acrisure Stadium at the wildcard game a couple of weeks ago. And then this asshole literally has 5 turnovers in the same game. And 4 of them were all in the first half. Congratulations, CJ Stroud. You are a complete piece of shit quarterback.
You look like Nate Peterman out there.
Oh,
Peterman. Oh God, I remember him. Basically, his stats are like probably one of the worst that I've ever seen for somebody that lasted as long as he did. Surprisingly,
yeah, he was just in the league not that long ago with like the Raiders. I was like, that dude is still in the league.
Yeah, and the funny thing is that John Gruden was ripping him a new ass. It's like, oh, he's so casual. It's like, get rid of the ball.
CJ Stroud, my least favorite quarterback in the AFC South. That's for certain. But, I mean, it's hard to tell exactly how fully developed CJ Stroud is because of the fact that the guy, he's like Alex Ovechkin. He gets past the first round every year, and he somehow shits it away in the second. And that's always been something that kind of just stuck with me. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I don't know what's up with Houston. Their defense was elite all year. In fact, I found out on Sunday that they actually have their own nickname, kind of like how the Jaguars had Saxonville. I found out that Houston's defensive name is Swarm City.
That's an interesting one.
Yeah, Swarm City is what they call themselves. But in general, the Texans played like shit. CJ Stroud played like shit. Texas defense did all they could, and it was just not enough at that point. So New England is once again back in the AFC Championship game for the first time in God knows how long. Fucking shoot me. And
it's been so long for them. I feel so bad for them. I feel so bad for those Boston fans.
Right? I feel so bad for them because they were only good 6 years ago. And all of a sudden, this is the worst they've had since Brady. Jeez, I wonder where I heard that from. I mean, fuck, dude. And then of course we're getting down to the nitty gritty. Outside of the Patriots game, there's one game left we still haven't covered yet, and that is the Bills-Broncos game. Oh my fucking God. That game, the ending of that game was a giant cluster fuck shit show. What the flying fuck happened in the end of that game? And I'm just going to be straightforward about this for a minute. Josh Allen does not get a pass from me as far as how he played.
No, he shouldn't.
He shouldn't. And a lot of people in the narrative, world, in the media, they're like, oh, the Bills are doing all this because Josh Allen gets a pass for how horrible he played. He doesn't get called out. Yeah, bullshit. He gets called out by the real hardcore fans. It's like, Jesus Christ. I mean, the guy has been on it. I got to be honest. It was a down year for him, but it was like the dude had 4 fucking turnovers in the whole game. And it's like, Jesus Christ. How are you supposed to win a playoff game? And the fact that the Bills even came back to tie it says more about Josh Allen than it does about the rest of the team.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, if you have 4 turnovers in a regular season football game, let alone a playoffs, 99% of the time you're losing. Obviously, this was one of the 99% where you lost. You have to protect the ball. It's that simple. You have to protect the ball. You have to protect the ball. You have to protect the ball. That's the way it is in the playoffs. And I mean, I can't say it enough. Then on top of it, we couldn't even get our run game going, so that was part of the issue. And then on top of it, I mean, you look at what the Broncos defense ended up bringing, and the fact that they were swarming them all night. I mean, there was no way he was going to have the luxury of being in the pocket and being able to scramble or doing a lot of the things that he would normally do. So, of course, the Broncos knew exactly what they were wanting to do. They knew exactly how to prepare for it. What they did in the offseason, they prepared for this potential game. They ended up bulking up front, and you notice how they were just how the Broncos defense was just destroying our players. I mean, there was actually one hit, and I'm trying to remember exactly who it was, but remember like the one hit on James Cook at one point during the game, and I think it was like in the second half where he just gets fucking leveled on the ground and
it was
standing right on top.
It was actually Dawson Knox. I forget his first name, but it was like Musa Fataga or something like that. He came from the Niners and then went to the Broncos.
Yeah, it ends up getting destroyed.
Yeah, that was a clean hit. I'm not gonna lie about that.
That's the type of hit I expect to see quite a bit. But that's what Denver did. They purposely built up so they would make sure that they would be able to take it on, and of course they did.
Yeah, for certain. But I do want to ask Damien, because I was actually holding on to this question for a little bit, because this was before you jumped on, by the way. And obviously, that game was a modern classic. It would have been called a modern classic if it weren't for that shit show of officiating at the end of the game. Oh, my fucking God. But in your honest to God opinion, Dan, was that a catch, or was that the right call? Was that an interception?
When I saw it live without any replay assist, I thought it was a catch. And then I was like, how did the guy get the ball? And then I'm like, okay, incomplete, maybe. I got no idea what's going on. And then they just gave it to them as an interception. Now, upon watching the replay, it looks like a catch still. But I don't want Bills fans to take that into consideration. That's the reason they lost the game, because that's not the reason the Bills lost the game. The reason they lost the game was the turnovers. You can't have 5 turnovers in a game. And when I was talking last week, there was 2 keys to the game. One, get the run game going, which I thought they did. It wasn't that bad. Cooks had 117 yards. The second thing I said was to protect Josh Allen, which they obviously did not do. And I wasn't expecting the defense to be that porous.
No, I don't think I was either. But, I mean, I'll put it this way. Yeah, I do agree with you. You're not winning shit, especially if you have 4 turnovers in one playoff game. It's just not going to happen. But I also feel that even if they did limit the turnovers, there was no doubt the Bills were going to win that game. And that's why I was so confident in it, because C.J. Stroud, like I said earlier, he had 3 turnovers in the Pittsburgh game, and he still won that game, even though it was all defense. Allen is a completely different player in comparison. But as far as now, shit happens as far as like how the game ended. But the replay in general completely destroyed the vibe. Because let's be honest, if that was a catch, or if they called it a catch, we wouldn't be sitting here talking about it, because that was honestly the most bullshit call that I've seen in a while, at least in my life.
Well, there was another similar play in one of the other games where a receiver caught it. He was down by contact, his knee, and then the ball got ripped out. And the other team almost recovered it. And then they were like, oh, no, he was down by contact. I was like, okay, now he's down by contact there, but he's not down by contact in the Bills game. So I don't know what the NFL does. I really don't.
Hey, it's called Vegas. They wanted their money.
Yeah. I actually read, in terms of Vegas, I'm glad you brought that up, because I actually read a stat that said that 63 to 71% of the people that betted on this game from Vegas and MGM bets or whatever, 71% of the people actually betted on the Bills. One person actually betted $1 million that they would win the Super Bowl this year. Maybe that's why they didn't give it away, because I think the thing with sports nowadays is that it gets ruined with gambling, and I think that it's really fucked a lot of referees over. Well, not referees, but it fucked a lot of fans over. The referees, I'm almost considered, is a possibility that they were in on it, where they have an alias account and then they bet on it, which you can't do legally. And then on top of all that, they rig the calls for them. And games are supposed to be decided by the players, not by the officiating. Even if the Bills somehow flawlessly played a clean game and still lost, I would have been okay with that. I would have accepted that. Right. But the way that game ended was so bullshit on every aspect. Like, it's almost hard to argue with them, because everyone else would be like, nah, that's a fucking interception, or nah, that's an incomplete pass. I mean, everybody has different opinions about it, sure. But at the same time, it's like, you know, it's almost like a cruel joke where it gets told over and over and over again, and it's not funny anymore. It's just heartbreaking, because it's like you want this team to able to go far with no Burrow, with no Jackson, with no Mahomes, and they still can't do it because the referee said, oh, the Bills are going to win, pull the plug. That's literally what happened. Even if they somehow won, I would have probably not said anything about it, honestly, but because it is fucking them over again for the second year in a row, it completely changes the vibe of the entire narrative.
Yeah, and actually, here's one of the funny things about it too. They actually did the replay out of New York City, and they went to the replay assist right away. They're like, "Oh no, it's not a catch." And it's almost like, how much do you want to bet as a result of this? We're going to have another overtime rules change where now you can actually throw a challenge flag.
I wouldn't be surprised, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, why did they not allow the challenge flag anyways? You know, it's one of those things. You have the challenge flag there, so this way you can get stuff like this looked at, and you could potentially get stuff overturned. Why should there be a difference in overtime? You know, let it be just the standard rules. Of course, we already know what's happened in the past. After 13 seconds, after the different heartbreak games that the Bills have had, of course, now each team gets a minimum of one possession in overtime. And then, of course, if no team score after that first possession, then it's sudden death. So, okay, Bills got that change. Now it's like, let's see what happens about getting that challenge flag being allowed in overtime. And hopefully that could potentially happen.
The officiating this year is just getting worse and worse and worse by the year. It's not consistent. And the fact that, you know, we have to still sit here a year later, even with all the rules, and people say, well, that's because Buffalo fans were complaining about it. No shit, because it's not fair to everyone else that even if it's not even just Buffalo at this point, it's everybody else and the other 31 teams if they were in that situation. But it's always the Bills that always end up in some sort of fucking controversy, especially in things like this where they have to change the overtime rules.
Yeah, I always think there is some kind of consistency. The consistency is it goes to the big market city.
Yeah,
I mean that's how it seems. It seems like, well, the NFL, because the NFL can only fix a game one way, and that's by the refereeing and the calls. And if it's going to be a questionable call in the game, the NFL, I feel, is going to decide whatever team is going to make them the most money.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the problem too, is that I'm just going to use last year for example. If you remember last year, we were here a year ago talking about the AFC Championship game, me and Tom, and we both said that the Bills got screwed over, and that was their best chance, and they were doing really good. And then the fourth quarter came when they were apparently short on a 4th and 1. That fucked them over, and then there was the incomplete pass that was considered a catch. the referees in the NFL are getting so bad to the point where other executives, coaches, players are all saying you need to hire full-time referees because it's not fair that you keep continuing to fuck the same team over and over and over again. If it's Buffalo, if it's Green Bay, if it's any other small market team. Well, I'm sorry that the Bills were gifted a generational talent. A guy who's a top 3 player in this league deserves a little bit more better credibility than having to be the guy that always ends up on the other end of history where it's like, wow, they got fucked over.
Yeah, good point. And actually, Bobby, I sent you some breaking hockey news out of the Sabres just now.
Just now?
No, is that
Doan? Yeah, Josh Doan, 7-year extension.
Wow. Okay. So we'll definitely catch up on this in the second half for sure. But well, there you go. We got something to talk about in the second half.
Yeah. So we got that.
Well, let me ask you guys a question about this Denver game. Did you guys think it was going to be this close? And the only reason it really was close is because the Bills pissed points away, especially right before the half with the turnovers and that field goal right before the half that really made all the difference.
Yeah, comes down to clock management again, which is another issue. And we'll talk about more of what happened with Sean McDermott getting fired in just a few moments here. But clock management has been a problem. And of course, it happened with 13 seconds. It happened with Kansas City. It happened with Houston. It happened again. And it's like almost at the end of the first half, just kneel the fucking ball and go into the tunnel. I mean, why are you still out there with 20-some seconds left, allowing Denver to get a play? Just kneel the fucking ball down.
Yeah, no. And you probably wonder why McDermott got fired, which we'll get to in a second. But like, I just felt icky afterwards. Like throughout the game in the second half, when it was all tied up, I said, okay, maybe the Bills have an actual chance because it was all Buffalo in the second half. But you know what? I'm going to say this: the football gods have a sense of humor, a very interesting sense of humor, where it's like the catch from Brandon Cooks from Jaquan McMillan. That was considered an interception by many who are Denver Broncos fans. But if you're an NFL fan or a Bills fan, you're probably looking at that as one of many ways. But an hour after the game, it was reported that Bo Nix broke a piece of his bone on his ankle, and he has to get surgery most likely, and he's out for the remainder of the playoffs. So if that's the standard as well, that Bo Nix gets hurt an hour after the game when we're all still red at that point because of how pissed we are. Imagine thinking that, oh, yeah, that the team that just beat us is going into the third round, but without their starting quarterback. Like, geez, that's going to suck. But it's like you have Jarrett Stidham, and it's almost like the football gods are saying, no, the Bills should have won that game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when I heard about that whole issue when Bo Nix broke his ankle on the second to last play in overtime, I'm like, wait a minute, what the hell happened here? And I almost want to think, hey, we all know karma. Karma's a bitch. So it almost like came back to get Denver in that sense. But then again, I mean, sure, you don't want to see anyone get hurt. So hopefully, Nix ends up healing up fairly quick. But still, I'm like, oh my God. It's like that was like the add insult to injury on top of it.
Yeah, but even Denver fans were bitching about that because of the missed holding call in the end zone. They said a safety should have ended the game in overtime. Right. It's like, oh, he wouldn't have been hurt if they had called that. If that game ended that way, oh my God, that would have been such a terrible ending.
Right. Or here's another one. How about that pass interference?
Yeah.
That one
was weird. I saw that live too as that happened. I was like, oh, he got pulled. And I was like, nope.
Right. Yeah. And then, of course, Trey White going off at the ref. I don't blame him for going off at the ref, but Jesus Christ, taking your helmet and throwing it on the field for 15 yards, it's like you got to keep your head cool, man.
Yeah. You know what just hit me? The referee's name is Carl Shevers. He's the referee, and I'm sure you guys remember this. This was about 4 years ago. Eagles-Chiefs, the first one in Arizona. Remember that PI call that was given to, I forget his name, and it was right to Kadarius Toney, and he got
the Phantom PI.
Yeah, the Phantom PI from James Bradbury in Super Bowl 57 in Arizona. Eagles-Chiefs, That was the play that got the Chiefs to win the Super Bowl. That same referee who made that phantom PI call is the same referee who reviewed that call in the Broncos-Bills game.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and basically it's like, oh, yeah, no, it is what it is. Carry on.
Yeah, you know what's bad? When Sheffers has to go on the podium after the game to explain that call. And it was pretty much in the lengths of the corporate answer. It's like, nobody wants to hear your argument, okay? You know it was bullshit. You outright admitted it after the game.
Right.
Why didn't you call it when the game was still playing? Oh, right, because you didn't want to lose money. That's why.
I would love to see him get investigated, maybe see if there's any illegal gambling, like what happened with that recent point shaving scandal that happened in college basketball, or what's happened with some of these NBA players in the past. It's like, hey, investigate him. Let's see if he's accepting money. And if he is, and he's influencing the outcome of these games, then we know we have a major problem.
Yeah, no, gambling has become such a big problem in sports that it's almost in a way just ruining it.
Exactly. And actually, I was going to say, we've got a lot of comments in here.
Yeah, we do, but we're not going to go through all of it because then what we do is then the show would be like 2 hours. So we're just going right through
blow
it.
through them.
Yeah,
second half.
Quick. Yeah, no, it's real quick. Well, he's actually got all Bill's stuff in here, but hey, let's just cover it real quick. So all over Jay's in here, of course, welcome aboard as usual. And the first thing he ends up asking, well, what the hell happened to the Bills? Then he's what's happening, fellas. So, hey, good to see you. And he also talks about how the 49ers got blown out, so he feels for us. Oh, yeah, Seattle whooped their ass. And then
yeah, but you could almost stomach a blowout because it's not as dramatic. Your team just didn't show up.
Yeah, when you're losing 47.
What happened with the Bills? That's just gut-wrenching.
Yeah, exactly. Then he says Caleb makes easy plays stupid and impossible plays easy. Yeah, that's true. Then he talks about Peterman and he calls him Pickerman. Then Josh Allen, Then Josh Allen 0-7 in his career in overtime games, including playoffs. Actually, now 0-8. So yeah, that's the comments all caught up.
Yeah. But you know what? I think it's safe to say now that we've pretty much digested that fucking fiasco of a game, why don't we talk about the follow-up? The end of an era. Sean McDermott was surprisingly fired on Monday morning by the Buffalo Bills. Damian, kick it off. What do you think?
Well, I tuned in on the app to the press conference. It was interesting to say the least. Pagula kept interrupting Bean and making excuses. He just came off as childish, arrogant. That he knows what he's doing, and I really don't think he knows what he's doing.
Yeah, really.
But I mean, I know we're going to get into it, but Pagula threw McDermott under the bus, saying that the pick of Keon Coleman was on the coaching staff, and Bean was being a team player and just going along with it. Which, okay, if we want to play that narrative, that's fine. But how many years in a row could Bean have drafted a receiver in the first round and didn't, and never did it? And then we took a flyer on Keon Coleman in the second round, and he hasn't worked out. And to this point, he's a bust. Not saying he can't recover, but to this point, he's a bust. You had all these chances to draft a receiver. You knew you needed a receiver, and you just never did. And that's on Bean.
It is. And I will say, and I watched that entire press conference this morning as it happened, and I was going to say, that's the first time Pagula has actually taken questions from the media going all the way back to 2019. So that shows how inaccessible he is.
Cheers.
So, of course, that's one thing. I could also tell he was very hot-headed during the conference. He was talking about his wife's health and family issues. And I don't mean to come off in a bad way. I don't give a flying fuck about that in a press conference. It's like, stay on topic. Of course, I don't like that. Of course, Godspeed to his wife. I hope, she continues to recover from that whole issue. But is like, don't interject the family stuff into it. Let's just stay on topic and let's keep it to what it actually is. So looking at the press conference on itself, with him getting started and basically like, oh, Josh Allen wouldn't talk to me after the game. Oh, he wouldn't even acknowledge that I existed. Oh, he didn't want to talk about everything after he ended up losing the game. And I'm like, shut the fuck up. You know, seriously. Of course, the players are not going to want to talk to you after the game because they lost. So,
Well,
you know, that's like one of the biggest things right out of the gate. They're not going to want to talk to you. And then, of course, he says, well, based on the locker room, I just went ahead and fired him. So then, of course, I ended up, I was flipping through the TV Monday morning, and I was seeing, like, the crawl at the bottom of the screen when I hit that Spectrum News. And I'm like, whoa, wait, McDermott got fired? But there were a couple of interesting moments that that did come out of it, though, is that, of course, he mentioned the Denver game, mentioned not getting over the hump. He did mention the playoff seeding, which, okay, whatever. You know, we've gotten in there. But 8-8 in the playoffs is not going to get it done, despite having like a 98-50 regular season record. It's the same thing that happened to Andy Reid when he was in Philadelphia. Great regular season coach, couldn't do shit in the playoffs. But another thing that was very interesting, and this happened probably about halfway through the conference, the 13-second reference to that game that we lost. And it almost makes me wonder, if you're firing him over 13 seconds in addition to what we saw this past weekend, why didn't you let McDermott go immediately after 13 seconds if that was the case?
True. But you know what I will say is this. I will say that I've been very advocate about McDermott, Tom, and you know me for a long time. Damian doesn't know about
Yeah,
it.
you've wanted him out for a while since that 13 seconds.
Yeah, definitely. And you know what, too? I have been beating my drum on this, Damian, for years. I've wanted him gone since 13 seconds, but people said to me that I was crazy. It's like, why would you want to get rid of a successful coach? Because the guy can't manage for shit. And the problem is that, and I say this about every sport, and mainly Buffalo, the Bills do this a lot, is that a lot of the fans get so attached to players and coaches, but they get emotional about it. You ever notice that? Especially and I understand why people like McDermott. He's a very good regular season coach, but he can't get the job done in the playoffs. And I remember after 13 seconds, I remember we did a show, you and I said I wanted him gone years ago at that point. I said, get him out of here. I don't want to hear a word from McDermott. You had the opportunity to go to the Super Bowl. You fucking blew it. That's all I wanted to say at the time. And then for years and years and years, I said, should have been gone since 13 seconds. Should have been gone since 13 seconds. I've been saying this for a long-ass time. And now we're at that point where they do fire him, and then it's like, well, you fired the wrong guy. Why is Bean the one staying? Why is McDermott? Why is he getting fired? Like, shut up, okay? Just shut up. We've heard this shit before. Yeah. It's like we've heard it for years. How people, again, they get so attached to McDermott or Bean or Allen. It's just like, just shut up.
Well, I think the problem was it was too knee jerk. Did it need to be done probably? Did it need to be done as quickly as it did? Especially since most of the candidates that they would like to hire are still in the playoffs, so they can't hire them, or are still available anyway. So I don't know what the rush was to get rid of McDermott that quickly. But I don't know.
Yeah, it's almost like if the trigger should have been pulled, it should have been done a long time ago. But then another thing that ends up coming out is that the players were never even notified about it with the exit interview. The way they found out about it is the way we found out about it, the media, which is absolute horseshit, the way that they handled that whole situation. I mean, the players should have known about it way before any of us should have known about it, and not finding out at the same time that we all found out about it, which tells me that Terry didn't give a flying fuck about the locker room. He lost the locker room now. And then you look at Keon Coleman, don't be surprised if he wants to force a trade at this point because his ass got thrown under the bus.
for no reason at all. Like, I'll put it this way. I think the players knew that he was going to get fired, which explains Deion Dawkins crying, which explains Josh Allen crying. When people saw Josh Allen crying for the first time, they thought they were talking about because, jokingly, they were saying, like, Lamar's coming back, it's his league or whatever, or Patrick Mahomes coming back. That has nothing to do with it. Allen probably knew prior, because I read a report that there was a meeting between the three of them 5 weeks ago, between Pegula, Beane, and McDermott, where the rumor is that McDermott was very straightforward with Beane and Pegula, and he straight up said, I don't like the direction that you put this team on, and I don't think you guys are good enough with the three of us together to win a Super Bowl. And great quarterback, we have no receivers. The offensive line's getting older. Defense is getting older. It's just not sustainable. That was McDermott's argument, which I think is extremely fair, because I've said this as well, is that they need to start getting younger. But being a prideful, egotistic asswipe says, hey, Terry. Okay, let me ask you a question. Damien, do you remember that movie, The Two Towers from Lord of the Rings? That worm tongue character that went up to the king in the second movie because he was so old and he was being manipulated. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what Brandon Beane reminds me of. He reminds me of Worm Tongue from Lord of the Rings, and he's whispering to his ears like, "Fire McDermott, just fire him, sire." And he does. And now, because of all this shit, it turns out that Terry was the one that pulled the trigger, not Brandon Beane. But that was before the press conference. And it was said that it was Pegula's decision to fire McDermott, not Beane's. And everyone looked at Beane and said, you're a fucking asshole. You deserve to get fired. You better go get a head coach. And I'm like, sitting here, I'm like, guys, do you like choking in the playoffs? Okay, because if you do, then shut the fuck up. If you want to win a Super Bowl, this is the type of move you have to make. It's uncomfortable, it's unwarranted, but it's the type of discussion that you need to have as a team if you're going to move forward.
Yeah, and Philly did this. And what happens once they fire Andy Reid? They get a Super Bowl. They fire the head coach after that, they win in a Super Bowl. Things like that do happen in sports. And here's the ironic thing is that right after the game, fans were calling for Sean McDermott's head on a platter. They wanted him out. Then the Bills actually do something and they fire him so we can get someone to put us over the hump. And they're like, "Oh, why did you fire McDermott?" It's like, why didn't you fire him? And then they're going all in tizzy for it. And the fans are not understanding that it's a production business. They're looking only at the total winning record, including playoffs altogether, and not breaking it down regular season versus playoffs. The bottom line is, I will say this, and I do have good things to say about McDermott. He did get the Bills out of that 17-year playoff drought. He got us consistently winning. He changed the culture. He did a lot of good things, got us winning on a regular basis. But when you look at the playoff record at 8-8, just being at 500 ain't going to get the job done. That will get coaches fired. And then if you look at the number of coordinators he's gone through, he had 4 defensive coordinators, 3 offensive coordinators. He could not hire the proper staff to get the job done. And this is one of those things over his entire tenure. Because when you look at who he had as OC, he originally had Greg Roman, got shit canned after like year 2, went to Brian Daboll. He went to coach the New York Giants. He ends up bringing in Ken Dorsey. He gets shit canned. Then, of course, Joe Brady, who's probably going to take one of the head coaching jobs with the Baltimore Ravens or some other team at some point. I don't expect him back here. And then if you look at who he had defensively, of course, there's Leslie Frazier. You had Bobby Babbage. And then, of course, one other coordinator in there somewhere. But
Rick Dennison was the offensive coordinator.
Okay, yeah. And then, of course, McDermott coached himself. But at the same time, you can't – you have bad staff around you. And of course, I think he also fired a special teams coordinator, if I remember right.
Yeah, he did. But to answer your question, though, Greg Roman was with Rex Ryan, not Sean McDermott. Rick Dennison was the offensive coordinator after 1 year under McDermott, and then it was Daboll, just to kind of correct you there for a second.
All right. But in either case, I mean, you get the point. He couldn't build the proper staff around him, and he couldn't retain them.
Yeah, I think the fans being mad about McDermott being fired and why not Beane is you get rid of the general manager and you want to bring a new general manager in, but keep the coach. No general manager is going to want to come into a situation like that.
Yeah,
because they're going to want to put their own stamp on the team and bring in their guy, their coach. So it's just not realistic to do it that way.
Right.
Either both of them had to go or McDermott had to go. And I guess they wanted some kind of at least consistency going forward by getting rid of McDermott. But I wanted to ask you guys a question.
Sure.
I was assuming that McDermott got fired because he was very outspoken to Pegula. And after seeing the press conference, I feel like that even more. Because Brandon Beane, I'm sorry, he's a cuck. he's gonna do and say whatever Pegula wants him to say.
Yeah. So what's the question?
Well, do you feel like McDermott was fired because of him speaking out about not having the players that he needed?
Yes and no. I say no because McDermott, you have to remember something. A lot of people tend to forget about this. McDermott was brought in January of 2017. Beane came in 5 months later. So after the first draft. So Beane was never really into the thought process of keeping McDermott to begin with, because that was Pegula's hand-picked choice. Because, and this is the thing I hate in sports, is how teams pick the head coach before the general manager. It should be the other way around. So that the way the GM could say, here's my guy, this is the coach, this is how we're going to do things, and then that's that. But at the other end of the spectrum, though, when you think about it, is that McDermott has a piss-poor playoff record. And if you've been the head coach with one position for almost 10 years and you're just now being evaluated, there's a serious goddamn problem. So I don't have an issue with the firing McDermott because of his performance in the playoffs. I do have a problem with them firing him because he told the truth. Because the fact of the matter is that if you have a coach, and this happened to Claude Julien with the Boston Bruins, is that he outspoke with Cam Neely and Don Sweeney. They canned him the day of the Patriots Super Bowl parade because Julien straight up said what McDermott said: they're not talented enough to win the Super Bowl, or they're not talented enough to win the Stanley Cup. Next day, boom, he's gone. So in a sense, it's a fucking stupid idea to basically say we're only going to fire him because he hurt my feelings. That's soft as shit. Don't get me wrong on that. But it's the fact that, how they handled it, because the press conference today made it even worse than it should have been. And by the way, can I just say something real quick? And I don't wish death upon anybody, but can Terry just fucking die already? Because all that guy did was run his mouth, and I don't mean to say this, because I'm going to say this about Bills fans as well. And I actually have it in my head, and I want to say it now, is regarding Terry Pegula and regarding the Bills Mafia. Terry Pegula is a fucking jackass, okay? The guy doesn't know what he wants to do. He doesn't know what he wants to be. He just wants lust, power, and control. And as for the fans who said, oh, you should fire McDermott. And then when they do fire him, why'd you do that? Those people are fucking retarded. Because really think about it. Because Bills Mafia are like transgender people. They don't know if they want to be a boy or a girl. They don't know if he wants to be fired or if he wants to stay. They can't pick. And usually you lose the argument, and there's no competing with these people. I love Bills Mafia, but honestly, they're just retarded. But at the same time, the fan base first says McDermott goes on like no tomorrow. Then they're pissed that he actually does get fired and saying that he should have stayed. And you can't have it both ways. I'm sorry, but if you're offended by my own comment, suck my dick.
But I think Pegula's knows what he wants, and he got what he wanted. He got a new stadium built here in Buffalo based on the winning culture that they had in place, and using taxpayer dollars to get that built too. He didn't even have to use his money really. So I think winning a Super Bowl was always secondary to him. I think it was getting that stadium built. That's what he wanted. That was the ultimate goal, and it's happening.
Yeah, well, I mean, clearly it is. Otherwise, the Bills wouldn't be here. I mean, the goal is always should be priority number one, which is to win a Super Bowl. But I just don't have any faith in Terry Pegula and his decision making because honestly, the dude made himself not only unlikable, but to the point where the fans and the team themselves they won't say it out loud, but it feels like they've lost respect for him because now it's going to become harder for coaches and players to come to Buffalo because Terry has no filter, became what's her face? Mark Schott. He became the male equivalent of Mark Schott. He has no filter, doesn't know when to shut the fuck up. And at the same time, he just babbers out, oh, by the way, I just want to make a confession. Keon Coleman sucks, and it wasn't Brandon Boy's decision. It was Shawnee Boy's. Like, why the fuck did he even say that to begin with?
Yeah. That was a kick in the nuts to Keon Coleman.
Why would he do that?
I know. It makes no sense. And of course, now the Kansas City Chiefs are like, hey, give us Coleman, we'll give you something back. They already want Keon Coleman as of this afternoon. So that was completely uncalled for what came up in that press conference. I mean,
it's just dumb because you're trashing your own player. And even if you don't want him here, then you're hurting his trade value.
Yeah, you handle that behind closed doors. You don't handle it in front of the damn media. And now, basically, you just destroyed any value that Keon Coleman has. Now it's like if you're going to try and get like a second or third round pick, you ain't getting shit. You're getting like a seventh round now. You just totally tanked his value. So, yeah, good job, Terry. Yeah, that was real smart. Real quick, I was just taking a look at a couple things, and I saw Oliver J. We did take a look. We already answered your comment about what we thought about the interception and what we thought about firing McDermott. Yes, we would have done it. Hit the gamer, same thing. We already addressed the comment about the interception. But no, he also, and then Ethan Dave Mike says, hey, great to see you on the podcast. Can't wait to see your new guests. Absolutely. We'll have some new stuff coming out actually later tonight, 10 p.m. if you stay tuned. Rory Fitzpatrick will be on. And then the Lord of the Rings impressions. Hey, it's all good. Hit the gamer. What happened to my comment? Well, we're purposely not going through all the comments right now. We're just trying to get everybody else situated and just get the thoughts out there. But he thinks it's going to be Daboll. I hope it's Clint Kubiak, honestly. And then doesn't like it, but he understands culture. So, and okay. Fred, good to see you out of Kentucky, out of Indiana, man. Good to see you on here.
Yeah. So I actually want to make one real comment. I know I feel bad doing that because I know Damian has something to say, but I just wanted to point this out real quick. I don't really think Daboll's going to get this job. I know he's getting Buffalo. I know he's getting for an interview job because that's part of the process. Mm-hmm. But if I'm being completely honest, I read a report today saying that if Daboll, because he wants the Buffalo job, if he doesn't get it, then there's a very strong chance that he's going to take the offensive coordinator job for the Tennessee Titans. And so I'm thinking if that's the case, maybe he's not as attractive as a coach than people think. It just because, and I said this earlier, if you hire a guy like Daboll, who you quote unquote understands the culture, you're not really fixing the problem. Because Daboll may be a shithead coach, but he doesn't take bullshit from anybody as far as like how he manifests everything. So I don't think it's going to be Daboll. But I will say though, is if they do hire him, that does two things for me. It's a buddy move, which goes nowhere, and then it's to comfort Josh Allen. No, you're not supposed to do that. You're supposed to hire an unfamiliar name in a head coach. You get a coach who actually will make the team better, not make it a fucking country club with Josh Allen in it. Josh Allen's going to be 30 in May, okay? You don't have time to fuck around. And if you hire Brian Daboll, that right there proves to me they don't give a shit about winning the Super Bowl. And I will tell you that right now. If you want to win a Super Bowl, you go get Clint Kubiak.
Yeah, I mean, look at what Kubiak's done in Seattle. Look what he did in New Orleans. He made Spencer Rattler look good in his time in New Orleans. Look at what he's doing with Sam Darnold right now. And the thing is, people have to remember, when Brian Daboll was here, we had no running offense. It was all hero ball, Josh Allen. That's all it was. Hero ball, Josh Allen, wide receiver one. There you go. That's all he did. We had a non-existent running game. And Clint Kubiak knows how to maximize his running backs. He knows when to use his QB. And he made Sam Darnold look like a freaking MVP at certain cases this season. And of course, they end up beating the shit out of the 49ers when it mattered most. So there you go. But he knows how to scheme. He knows how to make the most out of an offense where he doesn't have a lot of good parts to it. And that's why Seattle right now is going to the NFC Championship game. They're on all cylinders right now. They've actually outperformed this season compared to what I would have even thought prior. So I would want Clint Kubiak. And you figure the coaching tree he's coming from, related to Shanahan, there you go. That's not a bad choice. Never a bad choice at all. And with Daboll, I mean, yes, he was a good OC in some instances, and yes, he did get a lot out of Josh Allen, but all he did was get things out of Josh Allen. He didn't give a shit about the running backs. I mean, look who he had back at the time. Literally 0 possessions. There would be like games. I mean, there were no 100+ yard games ever during his tenure here. So the fact that a lot of the fans want Daboll just because it's a feel-good move and he understands it. No, you decide to go scorched earth and fire McDermott. Now is the time you go scorched earth and go completely outside the organization and bring in someone with a fresh set of eyes that can actually do something. Get a fresh coordinator in here because, of course, Brady ain't going to probably be coming back. Get all new personnel, get a whole new look, get that culture going. I mean, and these guys can maintain a similar culture in the locker room. I mean, it's one of those things. They can do that, but go outside the organization. That's what you have to do. And in this case, I hope that they do look at that. And at least so far with what I've seen, I mean, they've been interviewing people outside of the organization for the most part. I mean, obviously they interviewed Anthony Lynn. So, okay, there you go. There's your Rooney Rule interview. But then when you end up looking at who they're wanting to take a look at, I mean, they do want to look at Clint Kubiak. They did actually interview Lou Anarumo earlier, the Colts defensive coordinator. They also ended up interviewing Grant Udinsky, the Jaguars OC. And then, of course, Brian Flores is off the market now because he's going to stay in Minnesota. So there's different ways that they could go. But one thing I would say for fans that are talking about, bring in Mike Tomlin. Well, one, Mike Tomlin's done coaching. He's probably not going to come back because he just wants to retire. But then for these fans that want Tomlin so bad, why would you want someone more conservative than Sean McDermott? Sean McDermott actually would go for plays more than Tomlin ever did.
That's very true. But
you're not making an upgrade there. You're actually a downgrade, and his playoff record is worse than McDermott.
Well, here's the thing. I would only suggest Tomlin if he gets the right coordinators. If he's just bringing his Pittsburgh Steelers buddies, then I don't want Tomlin.
Oh, we're fucked if that happens.
Yeah, if that happens, we're fucked. But a lot of people are, and again, this is going back to my Buffalo, fan of here, is that people are freaking the fuck out saying the Bills are doomed. We're fucked. We're going back to the dark days. Like, dude, shut the fuck up. Let them get their coach already. Jesus Christ.
Right.
And I'm sorry I keep delaying you, Damian, as I know you got something to say.
Yeah, I mean,
no.
I
don't have any more to say about Buffalo, man.
Yeah, we're not going back to the 17-year drought. We actually have a team in place. Now it's just get the personnel so we can go ahead and maximize our run to the playoffs and finally get that Super Bowl title, which at least the new Highmark Stadium is not in an Indian burial ground. So hopefully that will lift one of the curses out.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens. So I guess we're ready to go on a commercial break, shall we, boys?
Yeah, I was going to say, the first entire hour was all about the firing. So, of course, we're going to talk about some hockey coming up. There was some news that ended up happening a little bit earlier today. We'll recap the Islanders and the Sabres. Got some other news coming up as well. So, and real quick, Brad ends up saying he doesn't like it at all, but he understands the culture. So, yeah, we get it, man. And who knows? We might even talk a little bit more about it this weekend. I know Nickel City Crew and their season finale is going to cover a lot more, which they're going to be on Friday night. So, of course, we simulcast it here on I-86 Network. So, give them a shout. I know we're going to do an even deeper dive there. But coming up after the break, we're going to get into some more of the hockey news and other sports. So, stay with us.
I-86 after.
My bad, boys. This episode of I-86 After Dark is brought to you by Superfry, right here in Merrick, New York. Superfry is serving up homemade soup, legendary hand-cut fries, and wraps that always hit the spot. And if you're hungry for something next level, try the Zazzini, stacked with crispy bacon, melted mozzarella cheese, juicy chicken cutlet, and their signature Roscoe dressing. One bite and you'll know why it's a local favorite. So when you're craving real flavor, head to Superfry in Merrick, New York. Big taste, handcrafted, and always fresh. To place your order, call 516-379-SOUP or just scan the QR code on your screen and get Superfry fast.
All right, welcome back to I-86 After Dark. Of course, you got the Ginger Hammer, Bob. You got Great Dame here, and we're if you missed the first half of the show, you shouldn't have. It was basically our deep dive into the whole McDermott firing, the Pagula conference, everything there, and we really jumped into it. So, of course, if you want to rewatch it, by all means, go ahead. And, of course, we're happy to be here for about the next half hour to an hour or so. And then a couple of quick comments before we jump into the hockey news. Of course, basically from there, all over, Yep says hi to Hit the Gamer. All over Jay says, what about Davis Webb?
No.
Too big of a jump for him. I don't want him.
Okay. Hate seeing Josh Allen cry. Well, we all cry, so there you go. And then saw this ad in episode 12. That was my favorite one. You're welcome, because I actually made the ads. So there you go.
Yep. Bobby made the ads. I did the intro, and that's how we worked it. So
and Damien is just being.
And
Damien.
I'm just here, riding coattails.
Exactly, and that's why we love you, Dame, because you're fucking awesome at your job.
Yeah. But of course. One of the things we'll talk about is, of course, the Islanders coming up, and one of the things that Damien's going to have here locally in the Buffalo area is he's got a watch party coming up this Saturday.
Yeah, we got this Saturday at Buffalo Wild Wings on the Boulevard. I'm going to be there probably around 12:30. The game's at 1. So they usually give us a couple tables in the corner. Of course, we're playing the Sabres, so it's going to have the full sound on in there. And we always get a little, ribbon back and forth with the Sabres fans and the Islander fans. It's all good fun. So should be exciting.
Yeah, and depending on schedule, I may actually make a trip out there. So if that happens, Dan, it'll be good to see you. And and hey, and if anyone wants to come out and say hi to one or both of us, if you want us to sign anything, hey, let us know.
Like I say, Islanders fans welcome, Sabres fans tolerated.
All right. So, of course, feel free to give us a shout if you do come out. And then one of the other things Brad ends up mentioning real quick, too, is with all the bullshit going on, the bright side of all of this is that there are coaches who want to work with Josh and the Buffalo culture and would absolutely love to hoist the Lombardi with Josh. And of course, do that, which is very true. And you know what? When we look at it, it is an attractive opening. Harbaugh must have been thinking, why the hell did I sign with the New York Giants? Because, of course, he signed finally a couple of days before. But, of course, now you guys have a real coach instead of Daboll. And then, of course, Atlanta got their man. So that's kind of how it all worked out. Things happen. But apparently the Browns are interested in Sean McDermott. I know the Steelers fans really want Sean McDermott, which if I'm Sean McDermott and you want to go and have consistency where you don't have to worry about getting fired ever, there you go to the Steelers. If you want a dysfunctional franchise, go to the Browns.
Yeah, well we already covered that part last week with John Harbaugh, but let's get back on track because we got a lot of hockey to cover. So I guess the first thing we should probably mention is a little bit of piece of news came out about the Buffalo Sabres, and I know Tom wants to talk about it because he loves talking about Donny Boy because he loves him so much.
This actually broke. We had a real quick hit about this right in the beginning of the show. But Josh Stone, Utah's lost his Buffalo's game because he just got extended 7 years for $6.95 million. So nice contract, good extension. He's actually been doing a lot to help, especially with handling the blue line. He's been scoring goals, but he's also been bringing a little bit of toughness out there. And when you look at the fact that with how Utah's line was set up and the fact that he was not able to get the playing time that he wanted, this is a good deal. So it actually works out in Buffalo's favor in this sense because, of course, when the whole trade happened in the offseason and Peterka went to Utah in exchange for Doan and Kesselring, Kesselring was the big guy that we wanted, especially for defense. And of course, now with him getting healthy again and finally getting back into the mix, that's good. But Josh Doan, to match the production that Peterka had, which he was kind of the wild card in this deal, that's actually a great thing to see that we've locked him up. He's a cap-friendly deal on top of it because then you figure just a little less than little less than $1 million a season or right around $1 million a season. But no, good cap-friendly deal. Very nice to have him. And of course, with him starting to emerge, and he's not even in his prime yet, I definitely see him really coming in to be more of that core and really bolster a lot of what we're looking for. So good to see that got done.
Yeah, it's a good deal for the Sabres. Like you said, it's cap-friendly. As long as he continues on the trajectory that he has built so far this year. 7 years, and, just coming from an Islander fan always scares me because we just gave out 7-year contracts like they were candy.
Right.
And most of them did not work out.
Mm.
But hopefully this one does work out for the Sabres.
Yeah.
What were you going to say, Tom?
Oh, no, go ahead.
Well, what I was going to say is that, I think from the Sabres perspective, I think this is actually a really good deal because you now just added yourselves another top 6 forward that you're going to want to build long term. You have guys like Dahlin locked up, Thompson locked up, Doan locked up, Owen Power, even though he sucks. There are some bad contracts, but I think the way Jarmo Kekalainen handled this contract, I think it worked out much better than how Buffalo fans probably would have wanted it better. Because, again, going back to the trade, it was all doom and gloom for y'all. And then once they started to actually produce points on the ice, it kind of just became like, oh, I forgot about JJ Peterka. And then they signed into that deal. So this right here, to me, is a slower upcoming version of JJ Peterka. In terms of that new deal, like he's going to be there for a while. And I think this is a great move for the Sabres.
Absolutely. And just the fact of watching him play this season, he has made a difference in several games that have allowed us to go ahead and continue building wins. And the thing I like about Josh Doan is that unlike Peterka, he's not afraid to drop the gloves. He's not afraid to hit people. He has hit people. He has fought this season. But he can score at the right moments, and that's one of the things that you have. He's got good speed on him, and he's still developing, but he has a decent two-way game, which is what you want in your forwards.
Well, let me ask you this question: with the emergence of Doan, does that make Tuch expendable now, and you don't necessarily have to sign him?
It's a good question. I mean, I would say right now, if I look at it, I still think giving up Tuch is a little bit of a risk in that sense. But
it is. But do you want to pay him $10 million?
Yeah. Sorry. I mean, sorry guys. I don't mean to interrupt. I really apologize. But we just got some breaking news from John Heyman of MLB Network. He is now reporting, as of 9:07 p.m., as of the time of the show, there is a trade brewing between the New York Mets and the Milwaukee Brewers. So keep an eye on that.
Ooh, Peralta.
Maybe, but we'll talk about the Mets. We'll talk about the Mets a little bit later. But you know what? Let's get back to the Sabres because we'll get to it. I'll give you the details when this all work out. So
come on, Bobby Pagula, stay on track.
Yeah,
I don't throw my teammates under the bus, okay?
Right. No, but no. When you look at what Doan has done in the 25-26 season, I mean, 15 goals, 20 assists, 35 points, and he is a -2. Given the fact with what he had done altogether in Utah, that's actually an upgrade because what he did in the 23, and this is only his third full season. And that's one thing that people have to remember because 23-24, he only played in 11 games for Arizona, five games. And he had, he had 11 games. He had 5 goals, 4 assists, 9 points, and he was a +6. Then with Utah, he played 51 games, and he had 7 goals, 12 assists, 19 points, and he was a -2. And so then when you look at the -2 rating so far, I mean, on the whole, he's a +2 for his career. But this has emerged to be his best season. And he's double the production from what he had in Utah. So with him hitting 15 goals, it's tough to say if he's going to be able to continue that on an ongoing basis. But right now, let's think about it. So 49 games, he's got 15 goals, and we're halfway through the season. So if he can get potentially another 10 goals, that's a good get. It really is a good get for us. And then basically with Peterka, with what we have in terms of his stats, basically right now, he's played 49 games with the Utah Mammoth. He has 16 goals, 16 assists, 32 points, and a +8. But overall, when you look at 287 games played in the NHL, and he has 83 goals, 99 assists, 182 points, and a +2 rating, I mean, is he performing better than Josh Doan on the whole? Not really. I mean, when you look at the goals, it's very much even. It's only a 1-goal differential. So I'm not too worried about that. At least Doan is matching production in terms of goal scoring. Yes, a little bit less on the assists, but at the same time, he is still getting the points. He is still getting the goals. And then when you look at what Peterka had done previously, 27 goals in the 24-25 season with the Sabres. He had 28 in the 23-24 season, had 12 in the 22-23 season, and had absolutely nothing with us in 21-22. So, yeah, Peterka's been in the league longer, but it's just indicating that Doan has some upside. And at least, at the very least, he's comparable to the production. So we really didn't lose production in this case. But we have a younger forward that we can actually grow.
I was going to say, you were incredibly lucky because Doan actually turned out better than he was originally advertised. The same way that I felt about Matthew Schaefer, because if you remember at the draft, I said I wasn't sure if Schaefer was going to be the franchise guy, per se, to kind of change everything up. And then all of a sudden, he goes onto the ice, he steps in his first NHL game, and his presence just changed drastically. And now if you look at the Islanders, they've been in the top 3 in the Metro all year long so far, and things have been awesome. The same thing might happen with the Sabres. Like, I can actually see the Sabres doing the same thing, where they're getting to the point where the team is getting better, they're getting younger, Kekalai's pushing the right buttons, and if they're smart, I think that they can actually make a trade leading up to the deadline. But it doesn't even have to be a big trade, but it has to be something that's going to benefit the Sabres. And every GM is going to say, well, it's got to be a player that makes sense, and it's got to be a player that's going to fit within our system. But the problem is the Sabres have a choice to make. Are they going to keep Alex Tuch, or are they going to, get rid of anybody else? Because if the Sabres are right now playing good hockey, what's the point of making the change? Unless you're actually somehow get value some of your guys. The same thing with the Islanders.
Right. And especially if you're going to trade Tuch, I mean, if you do it at the deadline, if you're getting equal to or better performance off of it, then, hey, you got to consider it. Because especially now with where we're going to be, I mean, the Sabres are in a position to buy and to really put themselves over the hump. And when we look at how they've played, I mean, they have not had extended losing streaks going all the way back to prior to when they went on that 10-game winning streak. So what happened? Yeah, you lose in Carolina. You end up getting the overtime loss with Minnesota. But then you bounce back and you whoop Nashville's ass last night, which is exactly what they should have done. Although the second period was a lot to be desired there with letting Nashville come back. But at the same time, one thing I will say, Constant Helenius, great NHL debut, gets a goal and 2 assists. So, good to see him and I mean, potentially someone that can further develop as time goes on. Looking forward to seeing what he did, because he absolutely crushed it in the rookie scrimmages with what I've seen with him. And of course, getting the time down in Rochester, doing good things. But he stepped in and he owned it. He had a good game. I liked what I saw with him.
I mean, this is a nice, tidy bit of business for the new GM for the Sabres. Like I said, the contract extension for Tuch needs to happen. I wouldn't go $10 million. If he wants $10 million, then they got to trade him for some assets at the deadline. I would be more comfortable around maybe 8.5 for Tuck, and I wouldn't really want to go over 5-6 years. I mean, he's almost 30.
Yeah.
And then the other piece of business that he's got to take care of is this goaltending situation. How long are we going to go with a 3 goaltending situation?
Right.
I think Lion and UPL kind of stepped out into the forefront here. It looks like it's going to probably be Ellis as the person that's going to be on the outside looking in. But I don't know what you think about that.
I mean, they do have to address it. You can't carry 3 goaltenders. I mean, that's just the bottom line. And I would say just based on overall performance, Lion and UPL are playing better right now than Ellis. So I would look to shop Ellis and see if you can get some assets for him. Not to say Ellis has been bad, because he hasn't. I mean, he's actually performed fairly well when he's had his opportunities, but Lion and UPL have really gone in, taken the reins, and I think those are your solid number 1, number 2 goaltenders right now. One of the things now I have seen in a couple of cases where some teams are trying to go after Devin Levi. There is no way in hell I get rid of him right now. No way whatsoever, because we ended up getting him. I believe it was off that Florida deal, and I want him to develop here, and I want him to potentially be the number 1 going forward, because I don't think UPL is the bona fide number 1 going forward. But I do believe for how he's playing right now, he's earned one of the top 2 spots. But I'm not crazy about the goaltending in general that we have right now. So I would say, at least to maintain some consistency, unless you can get a really, really good deal for UPL, I would say probably Ellis is going to be the easier one to shop out right now. You've got UPL and Lion. Keep Lion, because he's been a great second goaltender that we've had. But then I would want to start getting Levi into the mix as soon as, perhaps if we have to get him in later this season for a few games, get him in there. He has some NHL experience. I mean, he's won some games, but at the same time also start getting him in as early as next season and have him be someone either under UPL or whoever else we're going to have here.
Yeah.
He would be a great goaltender to have, because I do not want to lose him, especially with the potential he has.
Well, yeah, you got to see what Devin Levi is gonna bring you. I mean, he came over in the Sam Reinhart deal.
Yeah.
And that's going to be a massive failure if he was the major chip you got back. I mean, with Ellis, the Sabres claimed him off waivers. So whatever you get for him is gravy at this point.
Yeah. That's basically it. But you know what, though? Okay, so you know how about that trade rumor I was talking about between the Brewers and the Mets that I was just talking about 5 minutes ago?
Yeah.
We actually have the details, and it is being reported from Mark Feinstein and John Heyman. Both of them have said that starting pitcher Freddie Peralta has been traded to the New York Mets.
Whoa. Okay.
Nice.
Yeah.
For who?
Yep. I'm trying to find out. I've heard the name Chet Williams is being thrown around, but I don't want to assume that, because let's be honest, we'll get to the other trades later, but I'm just going to leave it at that Freddie Peralta has been traded. He is going to Queens to be with the New York Mets in the spring. So there's that.
Wow, we actually have a bona fide number 1 now.
Yeah, right?
Finally.
Yep. So thank you, Insider Bobby Hansen, for helping you guys out. Yours truly. but
I guess the other big Sabres story was the renovation of the stadium too.
Yeah, that came out the other night. So details are being worked out. Pete Gwelly, the CEO of Pagula Sports Entertainment, over both teams. Obviously, we all know Highmark Stadium is expected to be completed in July. And there are some actual interesting things I found out about the new stadium, which I can always talk about a little bit later. But right now, the estimated cost to renovate the KeyBank Center is going to be $400 million. And the state's like, fuck you, we don't want to pay it. We already paid for Highmark, so we don't want to pay it. But then again, you also got to remember, Terry Pagula does not own that building. Erie County does. And they're trying to get out of it because they don't want to pay the $400 million.
Yeah, it's crazy because Pagula has already received $600 million for the Bills Stadium. Taxpayers are not going to support $400 million for the Sabres now for the same owner.
Yeah.
The owner that's worth $9.3 billion, by the way. It's just not going to happen, which is unfortunate for the Sabres. Because they do, I mean, they can KeyBank, yes. KeyBank Arena is 30 years old. But it's not a bad arena bones wise.
Right.
I think a rehab is possible for that arena. It's not. I don't think they necessarily need a brand new arena.
Right. I don't think they have to go brand new. I mean, there's a lot of good things about the current building. Sightlines are good in there. You have a 1-year-old jumbotron in there, which is a lot better than what we had previously. The ribbons were replaced, except for some reason they cheaped out because they actually did not do the upper level ribbon. They kept the old one instead of the one that's on that Seneca Creek 300 level, which they should have ripped that out and redone it if they were going to go all out. But this is actually kind of interesting because back before I-86 After Dark started, and yes, we do have a sub Facebook page for the KeyBank Center renovation. So, of course, if you guys want to join it, I had some renovation concepts and different things from different arenas on there. And yes, Bobby remembers this. I did design a scoreboard proposal. I did actually pay someone to do some rendering and came up with a version that would have been similar to the previous one we had, except the screens were exactly the same size. It just had the top and bottom halo on there and with swords that could shoot smoke out. So, of course, kind of a nod to the original board that we had where we could see the smoke come out of the goat head. But that being said, obviously, the Sabres didn't take it. But what they did do, they did use the same size screens, which is like the 27 by 43. And they did use the vendor Mitsubishi, which is what I had recommended after doing some research, which, of course, the new Highmark Stadium has announced they are using Mitsubishi scoreboards in the new stadium, which is what they've had for the last 2 scoreboards in the old stadium. So basically, bottom line, their shit works. So that's how that is. But that being said, it had some different concepts and different things on there. And basically, one of the things, obviously, the seats got to be replaced because those things have never been touched. Had also just like having that full continuous 200 level club instead of having that U-shaped setup. So, of course, getting some different seats. They have a lot of newer buildings that have blue shading, which is kind of like where it's like sort of like a more room, have like fridges and stuff in there, and you have it's like a combination of a suite experience, but with a regular seat. And then one of the things they got to do, add another escalator on both sides for people to get up to that 300 level. They got to add at least 1 or 2 more on both sides.
Or how about the last time I was at the game where the one escalator was broken?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Add at least 1 or 2 more so you can get people in and out of there quicker.
Yeah.
And then, of course, operationally, they only have 1 freight elevator, but they have space for 2. Put in a second one. So this way, if you're going up to the press level, at least you have something to get up there. And then just general rehab. I mean, the actual building itself is not bad. But if there's ways that they can open it up a little bit, similar to some of the newer buildings, like I know me and Bobby went to PPG Paints Arena back in November, and wherever you are in the concourse, you have full view of the ice anywhere you go. So being able to maybe blow out some walls and open it up a little bit, hey, go for it. They already have a newer locker room, so that part's good. Renovate the team store a little bit, update that. And one of the things I even thought about for the Sabres is maybe take out 3 sections in the 300 level and do a pipe organ similar to what the Tampa Bay Lightning has. So it gives a little bit more space and, different things that they can do there. And then the other thing I thought about, obviously they're going to put another entrance into the building with the new DL&W station now that that's open. So that's going to help out with people getting into the building. So that'll be good. But one of the other things I thought about, the Alumni Plaza, why not enclose it? Make it a full atrium, make it usable space. You can open it up and do a lot of different things in there. And if they want to tie it in and make it look more like the newer Harbor Center, go ahead and do that. There's different things that they can work with. But I also think one of my other things I had on there was adding more of the digital displays and make it more interactive. And there's ways they can do that too. So it'll be interesting to see ultimately what happens. But at the same time, for it to not be renovated anytime over the 30 years, I mean, there should have been some things done and it should have stayed more up to date. But apparently what they have already started to do, and this is confirmed by WGRZ Channel 2 in Buffalo, is that the Sabres are talking to the architecture firm Populous. And if that name sounds familiar, that's the firm that just designed and they're building the new Highmark Stadium right now. So they may actually work with the same firm and have some of the same people involved on that project whenever it happens. And the fact that the original arena, I think the KeyBank Center, they paid only like it was less than 130 million to build it, but now you're going to be paying 400 million to renovate it, given the cost now. And a lot of these buildings cost upwards of $1 billion to build now. It's just absolutely crazy. So,
do you actually like take a breath when you talk? Because I feel like I'm listening to an audiobook written by you on audible.com. Just from do you slow down when you talk?
Well, no, and it's funny because I've actually submitted shit to the Sabres on this stuff. I actually have like a freaking binder worth of stuff and actually have like all these things that I've actually like design concepts and different things. And yes, I do have the ability to do CAD design. So even though it's not my day job and it's not ultimately what I went into, but yeah, I came up with some different things here and there and actually did meet a Sabres executive once with our buddy Doug. So, that's how I got the scoreboard proposal in, is basically met someone on the Sabres at a party where we were all getting hammered one night. And it's like, here you go. It's like, here's like 80 some pages of text specs and everything.
Yeah. But you know what, though? Let's get down to the nitty-gritty, because there's a big game on Saturday between the two teams, between the New York Islanders and the Buffalo Sabres. We have a big game because we had to sit there, me and Damien, for 5 fucking minutes for you doing this about the fucking stadium. And I'm going to be like, hey, Damien, you want to order some fucking pizza? Sure, because he won't shut the fuck up. What do you want? Do you want pepperoni or do you want sausage? I want sausage so I can shove it up his ass.
No, actually, if anyone's ordering me a pizza, throw pizza and sausage on there. I'll take both.
Ah, there you go.
Yeah, and not up the ass either. So.
Yeah, like up the bum. But yeah, no. So the Sabres have been on a roll. The Islanders too have been on a roll. So damn, I want to ask you, Guy, how do you feel about this road trip so far? Because tonight's the last game of this Western road trip in Western Canada. How do you feel about it? Because they're taking on the Seattle Kraken in about 5 minutes. How do you feel about it?
Yeah, it's been a weird road trip. They could salvage it tonight with a win. It would be nice to get the win tonight because their next game is going to be back at home against the Sabres. After a 7-game road trip, it's an afternoon game. We all know how the Islanders play in the afternoon. We all know how they play when they come back from a road trip. So chances of them beating the Sabres are not very good on Saturday. So, we'll hope. But as far as the road trip, they've struggled at times, especially to score goals. It would be really nice to have Bo Horvat back. I don't know what the time frame is. I don't know if he's probably not going to be back before the Olympic break. But I mean, Sorokin had a nice shutout against Edmonton, 1-0 with a little help from the post. But then they lost to one of the worst teams in the NHL, the Calgary Flames. So
I missed
they're a very inconsistent team.
Well, I was gonna say is that I missed the entire Calgary game. I saw the Winnipeg game. I saw the Edmonton game. The Edmonton game was probably my favorite one. I missed the Calgary game, and of course I saw Vancouver. So they only really lost one road game on that entire trip. So it's not all hunky-dory of how every game started and how every game ended. But at least the Islanders at the end of it all actually came out with something.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Duclair is on a heater right now. He's scoring at will, which is nice because they have a bunch of players like, Siplikov, for example. He's played 25 games this season. He has 1 goal, no assists, and a -10. And then people are talking about trading him. I'm like, trading him for what? Who's going to want him?
The fucking Sabres? I mean, after all, Daddy
Sabres don't need any words with a -10.
Why the fuck not? You might as well just get another father-son combo. You already got a Doan. You may as well get a Siplikov. If I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure his dad played for the Sabres like 25 years ago.
I don't know, but I mean, I wouldn't want the Islanders to make a big trade right now. What I would like to see them try to do is try to shore up that sixth spot defenseman, possibly on waivers or a low pick, like a 6th or 7th round pick, for the defenseman, so we don't have that carousel just like in and out the entire season. I mean, the defenseman that I really wanted, but it would have taken a lot to get him, was Rasmus Anderson, and of course, the Vegas Golden Knights swept in and got another player.
Yeah. So Rasmus Anderson got traded to Vegas, and Zach Whitecloud, along with the 2027 first round pick, were involved in that trade. But I forget the other details. I think there's a conditional second that I think in 2028, if they go back to the Cup and they win it, that 2028 second becomes a first. So that would technically be 2 first round picks at that point. But I will say, for retrospective, Damien, because I know you're going to be jumping for joy, is the Islanders are no longer in the Kiefer Sherwood trade rumor. Yeah.
Yes, thank God.
You saw that trade?
Yeah, I saw he went to the Sharks.
Yes, he
Which
did.
is good for the Sharks, because I guess they could use a little bit more veteran leadership to go with their young core that they're building over there.
Yeah. So for those of you who missed it, Kiefer Sherwood got traded from the Vancouver Canucks to the San Jose Sharks in exchange for a 2026 second-round pick, a 2027 second-round pick, so 2 seconds, and a defenseman prospect, Cole Clayton. So I don't really know what development program he's in, whether it's juniors or in school or whatever, but Cole Clayton is going to the Vancouver Canucks as part of the Kiefer Sherwood deal. So I could certainly say, Tom, with sheer confidence, that Damien and I are jumping for joy that the Islanders did not waste assets on a geriatric 30-year-old with little to no talent.
Well, Lou would have.
Well, yeah, Lamoriello would hand out stupid contracts left and right. We all saw that. But
yeah, we would have traded for Sherwood, assigned him to a 7-year deal with a no trade clause.
Yeah.
Oh,
and then you guys would have been handcuffed.
Well, they've probably were already handcuffed one way or the other, unless they somehow get out of the J.J. Pajot deal or the Anders Lee deal this year, because the Islanders have a decision to make, because right now they're going into the winter break or the Olympic break with a ton of momentum, and they're in second place in the Metropolitan Division, which is amazing. No question about it. But they have a decision to make. Do you keep or do you trade one of the other between J.J. Pajot or Anders Lee? Do you keep both past the deadline and let them go for nothing, or do you try to trade them and maybe get younger? What would you do in that situation?
It's so tough because they're playing well. And you would hate to trade your captain of all players. So then you look at Pajot, and he hasn't done much scoring-wise, but he's a beast on faceoffs, one of the best in the league. He kills penalties, and their penalty kill is a lot better this year. So trading Pajot away, then you're trading away your best face-off guy, and you're trading away one of your top penalty killers, and that's going to be really, really hard to replace.
I agree, but I mean, unless one of them somehow, knock on wood, if one of them gets hurt, I don't want them to. But if one of them got hurt, I probably would say that there's probably a decent chance at this point the Islanders are probably going to get probably like an older veteran top 6 forward, maybe like the Ryan O'Reillys or the Steven Stamkos. And it's funny because it was between the Devils or the Islanders for Stamkos not even a month ago. And now the chat of the town is that the Islanders might circle back for Brock Boeser, because apparently Brock Boeser is already regretting signing his decision on his new contract with the Canucks. It's like, why didn't you leave Vancouver? Oh, because you stayed for the money. Now look at you. You're stuck in that shithole city. So there's that as far as like how everything is going to be played out. But if there has been a rumor that the Islanders want to bring in Brock Bowers, but Brock Bowers has a $7 million cap hit.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So that's the only problem. But would I love Brock Boeser? Absolutely. I would take
Yeah.
that in a heartbeat. No question.
Yeah, and I would only take like Pajot or Lee because they're both on expiring contracts. I would only take them back on the Islanders for team-friendly deals. Has to be team-friendly deals. And it can't be any more than 2-3 years tops for both of them.
Yeah, that's the minimum you could probably do out of all of that. But in regards to that, we do have a little baseball to get into. But then first, before we do that, and then we'll wrap up, is what do you think about the game coming up on Saturday? Because it's I-86 special. Sabres versus Islanders at UBS Arena on Saturday.
It's going to be a good matchup. I mean, two pretty evenly matched teams going at it. And I have to say, especially if Kesselring's back in there, it's going to add to the defense. So, I mean, that part's good. I'm looking forward to it, quite honestly, to see what we can do, especially now that we've kind of turned things around and we're being consistent. Obviously, Thompson's going to be someone to watch for defensively. As long as we can hold the fort and get off to a quick start, I think it would be fine. I don't think it's going to be a super high scoring game, though, quite honestly. I mean, maybe, for example, like a 2-1 or 3-2 game, I could certainly see that. But I think it's a good contest. It's a good time to see how both teams match up against each other. And especially when we're looking at everything in the standings and we see that both teams are very close to each other in the league. I mean, right now, the Sabres are 9th. The Islanders are 10th. But the Islanders, of course, they have a playoff spot. The Sabres right now have locked up the number 1 wild card spot for the time being, having 2 games at hand. So it's going to be a good matchup, and it's going to influence a lot of what happens as we go forward. And then, of course, in the East, Sabres at 5th, Islanders at 6th. I mean, same games, same record. I mean, both teams are 27-17-5 with 59 points. So, I mean, and both teams have won their most recent game. And when you look at the goal differential, it's really the same. I mean, Islanders +8, Sabres +10. So, I mean, both teams very evenly matched. It's going to be a close game regardless.
Yeah, I'm terrified. But I told you why I'm terrified, because the Islanders are coming off a 7-game road trip. This is their first game back at home. They always tend to start off sluggish. And if you know the Islanders with matinee games, they never play well. So this is just it's like the whole deck is stacked against them. But we'll see. We have a pretty good record of meetups, though, when we go out and meet up with the guys. So maybe that'll turn some magic. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. And I mean, and to your point too, the Sabres are not the greatest team with matinee games either. So it really could go either way, quite honestly. But no, it'll be interesting to see. And real quick, actually, Jay threw in a couple things. I know Edward actually had a comment also. So Ed says, well-deserved extension, talking about Doan. Jay says the Kraken has 4 games, has a 4-game losing streak coming into the night. So we'll see what happens there. He also hates Eberle. So he mentioned that.
How do you hate Eberle?
Yeah. And then he says, we beat the Blues last night. Kraken 2 points out of a wild card spot. Sorokin stopped 29 out of 32 shots on Monday. And then how can the Sabres stop Hudson and Suzuki?
Well, we'll see what happens because, we both wish the Sabres all the best moving forward. I think it's going to be a good game. But if I'm the Islanders, I would probably play Rittich tonight and then Sorokin on Saturday because you're going to need health. You're going to need Ilya Sorokin for as much as you possibly can because that's a huge game. And I'm not saying that it's going to affect the Islanders as far as like the standings are concerned because they've been pretty damn dominant all year long. It's really just been Buffalo that's really just been there all year long. But if I'm being legit here, the only team I would really worry about for the Islanders right now is Philly because the Penguins are right there. The Flyers are only 3 points behind. For the Sabres, they're going to have to catch up to the Canadiens. Or better yet, they're going to have to surpass Toronto and surpass Boston. So there's a couple of options in that retrospective.
Yeah, and the Sabres play Montreal in Montreal tomorrow night, so that'll be an interesting contest. But yeah, just to your point, Philly's up 2-0 on Utah right now in the first period. So I'll just recap the games real quick. But Detroit and Toronto are tied in the third period. Anaheim and Colorado are tied at 0 in the first. Philly's up 2-0 on Utah in the first period. Pittsburgh and Calgary are tied at 0 early in the first. That just had the opening face-off, obviously. Then the late cap tonight, 9:30 Eastern, Islanders are going to play in Seattle. And then, of course, which you mentioned about the road trip. And then Washington and Vancouver go at 10 o'clock Eastern time tonight.
Okay, so we have a quick update because we're going to be getting to the Mets in a little bit because, we're going to wrap up the show in like 5 minutes, whatever. Is that one of the names that's being thrown around in the Freddie Peralta deal is Jonah Tong. He's being thrown around as one of the names to the Milwaukee Brewers.
Okay.
Yep. And Brandon Sproat and Chet Williams are also being brought up. But I'm not saying all three of them at once, but those are some of the names being thrown around, mainly Jonah Tong. So I guess with that being said, let's wrap up tonight's show with the New York Mets because they've been in the news a lot this past week. So I figured let Damien kick this one off because he is an advocate Mets fan.
Sure. I mean, the Peralta deal is huge. I like Jonah Tong. I think he's going to be something for the future for somebody. But he definitely, after he came up last season, you could tell he still needed a little work with his pitch control. He was leaving a lot of curveballs over the plate. He was getting hammered. I think there were the emergence of Nolan McLean kind of pushed Jonah Tong to the side too, because McLean just came up and was just dominant last year for the Mets. But the Mets also went out and got one of my favorite players from his days here with the Buffalo Bisons, Bo Bichette. Really excited to get him on board. Hopefully he could stay healthy. And then they also went out and traded for Luis Robert Jr.
Yes.
Good deal.
Yeah, which was a great deal, which allowed because I think Bellinger wasn't going to come because as soon as the Mets went and signed Robert Jr., then Bellinger ended up re-signing with the Yankees today. So I think the Mets were holding out hope for him and just realized, all right, he's not coming here, and then pivoted. So I think all in all, I think it was a great I wouldn't say great, a good offseason for the Mets with this Peralta deal today. I don't know. We'll see. I mean, with the Peralta deal, I think it could be great now. I'm glad we didn't pay Tucker what the Dodgers gave him.
Oh, Jesus. Yeah.
And I just think it's ridiculous because baseball is heading towards a lockout.
Yeah.
And I'm all for it. And the problem is that unlike 94 when they locked out and they came back, with steroid ball, what are they going to do to bring baseball fans back when they lock out this time? Because a lockout is coming. Yeah,
in baseball, they lost the fans after that 94 lockout, and it took forever for the attendance to actually recover. And in some cases, it still hasn't. But I will say, though, talking about that deal with Luis Robert Jr. Coming from the White Sox in exchange for Acuna and then the prospect Truman Pauly, that's one you have to pull. That's a deal you have to pull. So no, good job on the Mets for making that actually happen. And basically with that, now here they are. You're actually getting some help on the center field, which is good. You needed it. You also get a pitching prospect, as we just talked about a little bit earlier tonight. Once that news ended up well, you have a pitcher now that you can literally put in the rotation. So that helps, and that needed to happen. Because then if you have someone like Senga going down and getting hurt again, which has happened the last couple seasons, you have to have that better roster and that rotation to be able to overcome those games. And the Mets just totally shit the bed when it came to that this past season.
Well, I think for me, the big thing with the Mets was a lot of people, and it reminds me of right now with the Bills, it's a very unknown situation because they got rid of all the fan favorites. We know this already. But then you recover with getting guys with experience in the playoffs, if you notice, except for Robert. But if you notice, they're in the middle of the trade with Milwaukee to get Freddie Peralta, which is a very good starting pitcher. He's 30, but he's getting up there in age, but he's still a very good pitcher. And then you have Luis Robert Jr., who we've said, Damian, a year at this point that he was going to come to the Mets?
Mm-hmm. Oh, I know. He's been linked to the Mets for probably like a year and a half. I mean, Peralta's been linked to the Mets for probably at least half a year to a year. The only one that really wasn't was Bo Bichette, who kind of just came out of nowhere, which was nice.
Well, the only reason why I think it was I'm not going to sit here and say that he's shit, because I like Bo Bichette when his days with the Blue Jays. I was more shocked that he chose the Mets over any other team because of the fact that, we all know that the Mets were in on Kyle Tucker, and they were persuading him to come to the Mets for 5 years for like $250, and he said no. And he went to the Dodgers, and it's like, fuck me at that point. But then you go and get Bo Bichette. And I think the thing that's really interesting is they're going to have him play as a third baseman. What the fuck?
Mm-hmm.
Why are you playing Bo Bichette as the third baseman? Like, that's the part that really scares me. Because if you're telling me, of all people, that Bo Bichette was your best option at third baseman, you're fucked. Because everybody else you got rid of, either you traded away or you don't have the room for it, or the free agent class this year is not that great, or there's nobody willing to trade with you for that position. So that's probably why you got Bo Bichette to play third base. That's honestly stupid.
The Mets were always talking about run prevention, because Alonso wasn't a great first baseman. McNeil wasn't a great second baseman. They didn't really have a great defensive third baseman. And then you go out and you get Juan Soto in right field, one of the worst right fielders fielding wise.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And now you got a first baseman in Polanco, who that's not his normal position. And now you got Bichette, who's going to be playing third base instead of second. I don't know. Like I said, the jury's still out on Stearns for me. I don't really know his master plan and what the ending is going to be.
Yeah. And by the way, just to give you a heads up as well, the Mets made two moves. The first one was 7 hours ago, and I missed it. They signed Luis Garcia from the Dodgers, and he's 38 years old, and he has a 3.42 ERA, 58 games last season with the Dodgers, Nationals, and Angels. So it's a minor league deal. But yeah, the thing I was going to just say to you is that the deal is now done. Freddie Peralta has officially been traded to the New York Mets in exchange to the Milwaukee Brewers. They're giving up Jet Williams and Brandon Sproat. Those two are heading to the Milwaukee Brewers. Oh, and one more thing. That's also one more big league pitcher that will be heading to the Mets.
Okay.
Yeah,
so
good to see.
Yeah, for certain. But it's very interesting because, like I said, the Mets all winter were in discussion of getting better. They missed the playoffs. They have their usual second half choke. We're used to it. And it's like, then at that point, you're like, you got to do something. So you basically replace. So to give you specifics before we close off the show, is that, sorry, 1 second, guys. I think the Mets just made another trade. Hold on. Okay. Yeah, actually, no. There's another player in the deal. So they're not only getting Freddie Peralta, they're also getting Tobias Myers from the Brewers.
Okay.
So just wanted to throw that out there. So
I was wondering, because Peralta's in the last year of his contract, so he's going to need a new deal, too.
Yep, so it's Myers and Peralta to the Mets for Jet Williams and Brandon Sproat. Okay. So there you go. There's the deal. Okay. I thought it said the Mets made a separate deal, but it wasn't. It's the same deal. But yeah, no. What was I saying? Oh yeah. So if you look at the Mets rotating starting 9 going into the 2026 campaign, this is what the Mets are looking into right now. So you have Francisco Lindor, Juan Soto, Bo Bichette, Jorge Polanco, Marcus Semien, Brett Beatty, Francisco Alvarez, Luis Robert Jr., and Carson Benji. Yeah, that's your starting 9 for the next season for the New York Mets.
Yeah, I would love to see them do something with Alvarez. I'm not sold on him.
I mean, he can hit the ball, but I get it. He's hurt all
He
the
can,
time.
but he's a huge defensive liability.
Right.
I mean, yeah, but he was also hurt for the majority of last season. So
Yeah, he was.
I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but got to take it into consent. I mean, but do you like the overall moves that the Mets have made so far, or not really, Damian?
I do. I just, we got to keep Brett Beatty though. We need at least one white player on the team. Just playing.
God.
Nah, I like Bo Bichette though too, so I don't care.
Yeah, Tom, how do you feel?
Yeah, I mean, it's not a bad starting nine, and obviously now with Tobias Myers being thrown in as another right-handed pitcher, I mean, you have a little bit more bullpen depth now, which is good. So I think some good moves. Can they still do more? Sure, but right now with where they're at, I mean, it was a good step forward compared to where we were just a couple months ago.
Absolutely, without a doubt. But you know what? At the end of the day, I also want to make one last comment, and then we're off for the night, is that regarding the Luis Robert trade that happened yesterday, Luis Angel Acuna and Truman Pauly are going to the Chicago White Sox for Luis Robert Jr. But here's the thing. He's a very good hitter, and he's a good outfielder. But the big thing is that he has to stay healthy. That's the biggest key of this trade for Robert Jr. is he has to stay on the field, period.
Yeah, he absolutely needs to. And then one other thing I'll throw in there before we wrap up is Carlos Beltran and Andrew Jones are going to the Hall of Fame.
Yes, I forgot about that, actually.
Yes, get out your garbage cans.
Yes. Yeah, but no, good to see them going in, obviously. And then, of course, Bellinger's stuck with the Yankees. He's staying there for another 5 years because it was really the only place he could go.
Yeah, for certain. So, but with that being said, we're going to wrap up. We're going to get out of here tonight. And just a quick reminder, the interview that Tom and I did a few months ago with Roy Fitzpatrick will be available at 10 p.m. in about 10 minutes. So if you want to listen to that episode, head on over to Spotify and YouTube, and you can listen to that interview. And let me tell you, it took a little while to warm him up, but it was a really good interview for sure.
Yeah. A lot of fun to talk to. Got to hear some good hockey stories and of course his time with the club. We talked a little bit about the All-Star game and then different things. So no, Rory was great to talk to. And then real quick also on our regular I-86 Network Facebook page, if you want to take a look at our sub page, which is the KeyBank Center renovation, feel free to jump in there. There's some concepts and different things that we post on there. So of course, have some fun. But yeah, the Rory Fitzpatrick interview, it's definitely a good interview to take a look at.
Definitely. So is there anything else you guys want to say before we get out of here? I guess that's a no.
No, so, I'm good. And just
I'm good.
Yeah. So of course, if you guys are out in the Buffalo area, want to see us this weekend, of course, come on out. Damien's got the meetup at Wild Wings on Boulevard. I'm going to try to be there. One other thing, I know our friend Sophia's 16th birthday is this weekend, so happy birthday! We love you, and we hope to have you guys, you and your parents, back on the show at some point as well. So we wanted to wish you that, and then other than that, I think we're good for another week.
Yep. So with that being said, I'm your host, Buffalo Bob. This is Ginger Hammer, Tom Lujek, and then the great Damien Microd. And so until then, we'll see you guys next Wednesday. And enjoy yourselves. And go Mets. Mm-hmm. Welcome to New York, Freddie Peralta. Welcome to New York, Walt Bichette and Luis Robert. So hopefully for a hopeful good campaign. So with that being said, we're on out of here, boys.
Yep. Stay tuned for the interview coming up in a few minutes. Take care of yourselves and each other. We'll see you next week.
See you.
See you next week.